Hello and welcome everyone. Today we're working on this Hot Wheels 1970 Dodge Power Wagon 4x4. I already drilled the mounting post. I'm going to take it apart. I want to make this a two-wheel drive, so I'm going to get rid of the big tires. Probably keep this grille and paint it. Probably get rid of the chassis, but I'll chop the grille off at some point. I'm going to paint the interior, keeping the windows. I don't really care for the lights that go with the roll bar on the back, so I'm going to try to eliminate that. We'll paint the interior another color, and we'll paint the body another color at some point. I also had this rolling chassis from a 1957 Dodge that I did a build from just a little while back that I saved, and I might be able to use this chassis. So I'll probably start by trying to figure out a way to fashion this to fit and accommodate for this truck. I think I'm going to go with a lowered stance, so I don't know, it's nice how the bumper looks like that, but we're going to lower the chassis, so I might have to cut the bumper off. Let me study on it for a minute and I'll see what my next move is. I want to save this area so the bed looks original inside. So I think my first step will be to remove these prongs that stick down for the 4x4 aspect of the vehicle, and I can probably just get rid of the whole section here in the front. I don't think any of that's going to be needed, so I'll just cut this right behind the grill and get rid of that. And then these two prongs that stick down, I'm going to get rid of that and cut these two prongs off. Let's get these areas trimmed up next. Alright, I think I could just use the razor knife to cut this one off. Alright, the front section is removed. I could probably cut some of this with the razor knife and then finish it off with a file or a Dremel tool. Do that next. Alright, that came off pretty clean. I'm going to take a file and straighten it up, and then we'll move on to the next step. Next thing is to cut these little nubs off, and I want to try to cut them off as square as possible. Alright, I'll clean those up with a file. Alright, now I can probably start fitting the chassis. I still need to cut this light bar off. I'll do that next time I have it apart. Yeah, that's going to work out great. I think I need to trim the mounting post off or drill a hole in this chassis, but I think I'm just going to trim the mounting post. And in the back here, it looks like I'm going to have to cut this whole tail section off just behind the back wheels. I'll do that next. These clippers usually take off what I need on these mounting pins a lot of times. Like so. Okay, our front section fits a lot better. I still think I need to take more off though. Yep, take a little bit more off. There we go, that's plenty off the front. Yeah, if I need to, I'll take more off. But that's going to work. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut this back section off so we can get the whole chassis put in the right spot. Alright, I think that's right where I wanted to cut it. Let's see how that goes. Alright, it's not going up in there like I wanted it to. I'll have to investigate it a little closer. Okay, it doesn't want to fit because the wheels are too narrow. They won't fit in between these wheel wells back here, so I'm going to have to change the wheels. And I also think it will fit better if I get rid of this little side wall that goes around the interior here, this exterior wall, if you want to call it that. I'm going to cut that out so I don't have that barrier in the way, and the seats will fit in here a lot better. I'm going to do that next. Alright, after some cutting and filing, these mate together so much better now. So I should even get a better stance like I wanted. Yeah. It's going to work out pretty good on the height. I would have liked to have gone a little bit lower, but we're not going to do that unless we get rid of these wheel wells. Which, I don't know, could do, but I want to see how it looks like this. I think this is a pretty good height. I'll try to find some more wheels or extend that axle next. Alright, I found some different wheels that I think is going to work. Well, I know they're going to work. They're a little bit wider, so that fits in there and it's spinning. I just need to glue them down or something. I also need to add a little bit of a spacer on each side, and that's no big deal. I'll add the spacers and glue it down. I'm going to go ahead and change the front wheels out as well to match. Okay, so we got that. That'll be the wheels. Just plastic wheels. It's going to be a, well, if I had other wheels to choose from, but this is what fits. It'd be nice to have some rubber wheels, but I'm going to go with these. They're going to look fine. And as I was doing things, I realized I had another one of these trucks in the package. I have this green one. I'm going to go ahead and crack this one open as well. And, I'll drill the mounting post on this, and we're going to do something with this one as well. I like to make my wheel spacers out of these WD-40 straws. I'm going to slice this open linear and then chop it into sections for the spacers. I'm slicing it open linear so I can slide it over the axle pin. Okay, now that it's sliced open linear, here it is. As you can see here, they probably need to be trimmed about 1/16 of an inch. And I'll pry them apart and slide one over each end, and that will give me my spacers. Just going to cut them with the utility knife, trying to cut them as straight as possible. And I'm going to estimate 1/16 of an inch for each one. There's the first one. Here's the second one. Here's the third one that went flying across the room. Alright, I have my spacers. Here's this little pointy pen that I have to open them up with. Should look something like that. I got one on. I need to get another one. Just slided it. I just slid it down the end of the pen there, and I got lucky and it went right on the other pen. So try that again if I can. If I can get it on film, it'd be even better. But that's how I did this one. Not easy, I'll tell you that. I'll get it, but I'll probably never get it on film. Oh, somehow it went on there. I wish I could have got it better on film, but that's what you want to do, is you want to get one of those on each end, and that will take up the gap. Put this in place. I need to straighten it out. I'll get it on there in a second. I didn't show it on the other set of wheels, but in order to get the right spacing, I had to cut that little bit you see right there that's rounded. I had to take the razor knife and cut that flush with the wheel. So I'm going to do that first before I put my spacers on. It gives me a little bit more wiggle room. Anyway, you see what I'm doing. I have to get a little bit closer with my eyesight to get it right, but I just run the knife around there and cut that off. If you get it cut, you'll see a little piece like that you need to get off. Now, do that to the other side, and that gives me a little more space. Alright, we got the spacers installed. I'll apply a little bit of glue, and that will be permanent. Alright, just a dab of gel super glue right over the center of the pin area should be enough. Sorry, Star Trek, I need these wheels. Alright, I hope they like their new home. It's cool, the front wheel came right out. Do a little trimming on that one. Don't worry, we'll find a good use for you too, buddy. Alright, I got the back wheels free. Alright, the next thing I want to do is get rid of this light bar on the back. I think I'd just take my razor knife and score it across here several times and hopefully just snap it off. So I'm going to work on that for a little bit. Just going to do like this. I think after scoring it enough, it should just snap off. If snapping it doesn't work, I'm just going to take the Dremel tool and cut it. Looks like it's trying to work. Alright, there it is. I'll take a razor knife and clean it up a little bit. And if I need to, I'll put tape around the back window and sand this. We'll see how it goes. Okay, I sanded the area where the light bar was. I think it's going to work out. Shouldn't look too bad. Place it in the truck and see. It doesn't look too bad. Good enough for me. Yeah, I can live with that. It's not perfect, but good enough. So a little bit of an edge sticking down there. I guess you could sand it some more if you wanted to, but you also take the risk on scratching the glass, so I think I'm going to stop there. Alright, here's where we are on the stance. I think that looks pretty good. I'm not going to mess with it anymore. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next step, which should be painting the interior. I decided to change the interior for the green truck to white. And when I don't like the light bar either for that truck, so I went ahead and removed it. But on this one, I just took these clippers and I just clipped it right off. And I got an even better result than the one that I did with the razor knife and sandpaper, just by clipping it off. I didn't have to sand it or anything. It's ready to go. This one took a lot longer to do. So this is the way to go. Alright, for our green version, we're going to go for a different style. I'm going to make the green truck a gasser. I found this gasser body. I rounded up some rubber wheels for it. And it seems to fit pretty nice. I just got tape on here because I want to protect it, because I don't want to paint it. I want to leave it green, this factory finish. But we're going to update the wheels, chassis, and add an engine and some pipes and stuff. Paint the interior. So we'll have the gasser pickup, then we'll have the beater to pull the gasser, and I also have a trailer. I have this piece here from Johnny Lightning. I already removed the tires because I want to paint it white as well. This had some kind of house on it that was bulky and heavy and awkward, and I took the house off and this is what was left. I cut a piece of cardboard that's the same width, size as the trailer. It's just poster board. I doubled it up. I'm gonna put that over top of that to make everything smooth. But then I'm also gonna cut some strips to put on this to make it look like wood. And since it's such a long trailer, in the space up in the front here, I'm gonna isolate that off with a 3-walled area so we can put tires in a toolbox, this little toolbox type piece here. I'll make it so that could fit something like that in there, and then have it so I can put a row of tires over top of that. And I'm going to construct that 3-walled section out of the same thing, out of this poster board. I'll do that later in the build. Right, back to the blue truck. We got our chassis figured out. We've got our interior figured out. I'm going to make the interior this tan color. I got the windows trimmed. I fit it together. It rolls nice. Looks nice. Got a good stance. I think all that's done. The next thing will be to paint this. So I'm going to pick a color. We'll paint it and distress it. And we'll try to get this one done first. And while I'm waiting on paint to dry, we'll work on the green one at the same time. Next, I'm going to start by painting the roof this satin white. This is a satin white by Apple Barrel, if anybody was wondering. Probably 3 or 4 coats. And then we'll weather on top of it. Alright, I'll let that dry. I'm going to get the roof fully painted before I move on to the body. I got some nice red line rubber tires for the Gasser. Let's get those installed on the Gasser chassis. Get rid of these old wheels. Alright, and last time I made a Gasser, I took the Dremel tool and cut out all this space in the middle that wasn't needed. I don't like that mounting post area. I think I'm going to do that again. It worked out great last time, and it looked more realistic. So I'm going to do that next. Alright, I got the 2 cuts. I just need to take my razor knife and score it across here a bunch of times, and maybe a couple times down here in this crevice, and then I'll be able to snap that piece off. Alright, came right off, no problem. Now I'm going to take my files and clean it up a little bit, make sure there's no burrs and it looks nice and square. Alright, now that I got this all trimmed up, I'm going to paint it black just to hide some of the scarring where it looks kind of gray and white. Alright, I mixed up a green color. That's probably as close as I'm going to get, but I want to paint the inside of this bed to be, you know, as close as I can get to the outside. So I'm going to do that next. Alright, I'll let that part dry, and I'll do the inside of the bed. Alright, I'll let that part dry. Now I've got 2 greens to choose from. I was going to paint the blue truck green. I don't know which one I want to use now. I'll figure it out. Alright, since I'm conflicted with what color to make it, I think I'm going to make the front half the lighter color green and the back half the darker color green. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. I can always change it if I don't like it that way. Put spacers on the wheels in the back. There's a lot of play, and I don't like to see those axle pins. Here's what the green Dodge looks like with the green bed. I don't know, I think the colors are too different. I mean, it doesn't bother me that much, but a lot of trucks have spray-on bed liners and stuff, so I think it'll look better black. I'm going to paint the inside of it black. Okay, for the older truck that's going to be towing the Gasser, I decided to change the color of that interior to this turquoise color, I guess you'd call it. I went ahead and put a black wash on the beige interior for the Gasser truck. I'm going to go ahead and do the final assembly on this one, I believe. I think everything's ready. I'm going to put the glass in, put the interior in. Okay, I like the beige interior. Looks good. This is going to be our chassis. Looking good. Cool. I wanted to see if I could put these pipes on the underside of the truck. If I have room, that is. We'll see. If I can get these to fit in there, it would be nice. Make it look more like a Gasser. I wanted to put an engine through the hood, but it has this giant hood scoop, and I don't know, I still might put a hole in it, but it would work like this too, I think. We'll see. After viewing it with just the pipes, it doesn't seem like enough, so I'm going to go ahead and drill a hole in this hood, try to protect the paint as much as I can, and at least make a hole big enough for the blower and stuff to stick out, because you can see in there. At least there'll be something in there. See how it goes. I drilled a series of holes. Now I'm going to take my file and make it look the same shape as the hood scoop. Alright, I got the hole in the hood. The files worked. Now we can see the engine a little bit. It should look more like a Gasser. Let's take the tape off and do that final assembly. I just glued the engine in place for the Gasser, so I can't do anything with it till that dries. So let's move on back to the other truck and we'll start the rust patina. I'm going to start by putting some a gray wash, which is pewter gray, we just watered down. I'm going to put that on the roof. I want a good amount, but maybe not that much. Okay, try that again. There we go. Alright, it won't dry that dark, but I'm going to put a little bit of the gray on the green. I'm just going to do the front half for now. I'll let that dry. I put a little bit of alcohol in my wash, so as you can see it activates the other acrylic, but as it dries those bubbles will disappear and hopefully add to the rust effect. At least that's my intentions. Alright, while I'm waiting for that to dry, our black wash dried on the grill. This is going to be the grill for this truck. I'm going to go ahead and take the razor knife, already started, and I'm going to trim that off because all we're going to need is the grill and maybe the back bumper. Alright, I got that successfully released. Since I'm waiting for the engine to dry on the Gasser, I got the grill trimmed out. I'm going to go ahead and apply the glue to this, attach it, and let this dry as well. Do that next. Alright, here's where we are so far. I'll let that dry, then we can install the chassis and pipes. I don't see no reason why we can't install the chassis right now. Let it dry with everything else. Okay, the chassis just needs to dry, then I can put the pipes and do any other details we need. Alright, I have this piece marked out for the trailer. This is going to be the surrounding wall area for a toolbox and a row of tires. I'll cut this out and fold it into the shapes that I want, and then we'll glue it down and we'll paint the trailer. Alright, I still have to trim it, but that will be the 3 sides. I'm going to make this rounded, so I'll mark it the same on both sides, and then I'll cut this rounded, and then we'll be able to glue this down to the trailer. Okay, here's a tire, so I'm going to go about where that tire is and start to come down, and that's where we'll I don't know, I guess I might do something like this. I'll study on it, probably something like that. Alright, here's our piece after I cut everything and trimmed it. That needs to come off, there we go. We got our curved sidewalls. That fits on there, just like so. I'll glue all those pieces in place, and then I'll make the slats to put down on top of this next. Alright, I'll let that dry. Next I want to install this matchstick in here for a support that'll go across, and then I can drop tires in here and it can haul tires for the race car trailer. I'm going to glue that in next. Alright, now I'm ready to add some rust. This is watered down chestnut. Alright, I'll let that dry. Next, I want to add a burnt umber wash to make the rust darker. Alright, I'm going to let that dry. Alright, my next step will be to take these strips that I cut and glue them down to the bed of the trailer to simulate wood. In retrospect, I should have had them already trimmed, but I'll be able to just take a razor knife and cut them off. But I'm going to get those glued down next. The next thing that I'm going to do is take some white satin apple barrel paint and paint this trailer white. Alright, that's going to take I don't know, 3 to 5 coats, and then I'll do the boards. Alright, while I'm waiting on the trailer to dry, I'm going to do a little bit more detail work on the pulling truck, we'll call it. And it needs some more rust. Alright, I want to darken up the edges of this bed a little bit back here. Alright, I'm going to let that dry. Alright, next I want to do some fine overspray dots over the body to enhance the rust. The smaller the dots, the better. I'm using Tuscan Red for my first layer of dots. Okay, I took a pencil and tried to draw some wood grain onto that. Hopefully it shows up through the gray wash. We'll see. Install the windows in the interior. Now the back bumper and tow ball is installed. I'll probably add a little bit of rust to the bumper and paint in the taillights. And then this one's about done. Alright, trailer is dry. I'm going to go ahead and put the tires back on it now. Add a little logo to the trailer. I'm going to put this little round logo on there and a couple other ones probably. Okay, got that. And then I got one that could be a license plate. And one here that says men working, and then a little reflector. I'm going to paint the taillights in. Paint the taillights in next, and the trailer should be done. Alright, I have the taillights. I'll have to touch up the white just a little bit. Well, I think all three pieces are finally complete. I love how this trailer turned out. The little decals sets it off. And taillights. And the wood deck. I got a little toolbox here that's got a Mopar logo on it. I'm going to stick that in the trailer for now. And I also have some extra tires. We'll line those up. In the tire rack. There we go. Works out perfectly. I got 4 tires. Keeps the rack there. There we go. Fits nice. Put the Gasser Power Wagon on the trailer. Hook it up to the sleeper tow rig. Take it over to the diorama and get some pictures. Well, I guess this sums up our 1970 Dodge Power Wagon pair. I think this turned out even better than I expected. I like how we came up with the sleeper tow rig, custom trailer, custom race car trailer, and a gasser. I like this combo. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. And if you feel like supporting the channel, you can also check out my eBay store. Thanks so much and have a great day.
Well, hello everybody. That was a fun ride, wasn't it?